to find the gradient formed by 2 points, we're going to use the formula for the gradient. And the gradient is represented by the letter m. So m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So this is the formula that we are going to keep using for each of these 4 questions. And we also know that the equation of the straight line has a general form of y equals mx plus c. Our aim is, for each of these questions, to work out what the m is and work out what the c is. Because these are the constants, the m and the c are gonna be the numbers that are fixing the particular straight line in a space. The y and the x can take up an unlimited number of values because it's a straight line, and normally a straight line is infinitely long. And there are loads of different coordinate points on the straight line, which are represented by the y and the x values. However, the c is only one. There is only one y-intercept. There is only one place where it's going to cross the y-axis. And there is only one gradient, which is determining how steep the line is. M is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We can start by labeling the coordinate points. We've got x1, x2, y1, y2. Now we substitute the values. We have 5 minus 2 over 0 minus 1. And this gives us 3 over minus 1, which simplifies to minus 3. So this is our gradient. And now we have to work out the y-intercept. For this particular question, it's actually quite easy to work out the y-intercept because we know that the y-intercept is where it's crossing the y-axis, and at that point the x is equal to 0. So we have a gradient of minus 3, and we've got these 2 points. So if I plot the point 0,5, so let's say this is the point 0,5, we can see that that's actually our y-intercept. And then plot the point 1, 2. It's gonna give you a line going downwards. And it's just right because the gradient is minus 3. So from here we can see that c is equal to 5. So now we can fill in the values. And we've got the answer for the straight line as well. So y is equal to minus 3x plus 5. And this is the final answer for the equation of the straight line. Now what if we don't have a coordinate point where the x is equal to 0? In that case, we're gonna have one more step to calculate the y-intercept. So firstly, we're gonna have to calculate the gradient. In order to do that, I'm going to label the points x1, x2, y1, y2. Then we substitute the values. We have 9 minus 5 over 7 minus 3. This gives us 4 over 4, and it simplifies to 1. I'm gonna draw a sketch just to have an idea how this graph is gonna look like, but the question doesn't ask us to do that, so we don't have to. So if we do 3, 5, let's say this is 3, 5, and then we've got 7, 9, then we have a straight line with a gradient of 1. So our line is gonna look approximately like this, but we don't know what this point is. We don't know that. So in order to work it out, we're going to use one of the coordinate points, and it's up to us which one we're going to choose. Whether we are going to choose 3, 5 or 7, 9, it's completely up to you. So I'm going to choose the simplest one. I prefer to choose the smaller numbers or where we have zeros. So in this case, I'm going to just choose the smaller numbers, and we're going to replace it in the y equals mx plus c, where we know the m is equal to 1, and using the first coordinate point, we have x is equal to 3 and y is equal to 5. Now to substitute the values, we will have 3 numbers that we know, and one of them, the c, that we don't know. But we can work out once we've got these values. So we have 5 equals 1 times 3 plus c, and we solve this equation. Then we have c is equal to 2. So we've got c is equal to 2, m is equal to 1. We can write down the final answer. Y is equal to 1x, which is an invisible one, so we don't have to write it out, plus c, which is 2. And this is the final answer. To continue, let's label the coordinate points again: x1, x2, y1, y2. Then we're going to use the formula for the gradient again. So it's always actually the same steps. So we do 6 minus 4 over minus 2 minus 3. This will give us 2 over minus 5, and this is the simplest form, so we will keep it like this. Okay, so now we've got the gradient. The next step is to work out what the y-intercept is. So we're going to have to use the formula for the equation of the straight line. Y equals mx plus c. We already know the m, and we can use one of these coordinate points to work out the c. So we can use one of these coordinate points to substitute into y and x, and then we can work out what the c is. So I'm going to choose the point 3, 4, and then we have m is equal to 2 over minus 5, x is equal to 3, y is equal to 4. So we have 4 equals 2 over minus 5 times 3 plus c. So we will have 6 over minus 5 plus c. We add this fraction to both sides. Then we will have this. We're going to convert a 4 into a fraction, times the top and bottom by 5 to make the same denominator, and then we have 20 over 5 then we have 20 over 5 plus 6 over 5 is equal to c. Simplify this is 26 over 5, which is our c. It's true, we can simplify it, we can write it as a mixed number, but it's not necessary. So the next step is just write it in the equation of the straight line. So y is equal to, the gradient is 2 over minus 5 x plus 26 over 5. And notice the only two things that are fixed is the gradient and the y-intercept. So we've got the y-intercept and we've got the gradient. The x and the y are variables, so they stay as x and y. So here it is, final answer. So let's start by labeling the coordinate points: x1, x2, y1, y2. Let's apply the formula. M is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which is minus 8. Now this is minus 4 over minus 10 plus 8 is equal to minus 2, and this is equal to positive 2, because negative divided by negative is equal to positive. So minus 4 divided by minus 2 is equal to 2. So now we've got a gradient. We have to work out the y-intercept. So again, we are going to use the formula, the general formula of a straight line, which is y equals mx plus c. We're going to pick one of the coordinate points. This time I'm going to pick the second one because we've got a 0 there and it's easier to work with zeros. But you can choose the first one and still get the same answer. So m is fixed. M is equal to 2. X is equal to minus 10. And when x is minus 10, y is equal to 0. Let's substitute the values. We have 0 equals 2 times minus 10 plus c. 0 equals minus 20 plus c. We add 20 to both sides and we have our c. And now we just have to plug in the values into the general formula of the equation of the straight line. So y is equal to mx plus c. So we had plus 20 and we had 2 our gradient.